back to the workshop. This is by far the coolest thing I've ever made. It's a floating nightstand with hidden phone charging and a fingerprint sensor that unlocks a hidden compartment. This video is longer than all of my other ones, but there was just so much content to this build I couldn't cut anything out. Plus, as a bonus, I get attacked by nature. So without further ado, let's get started. The first step is to mill up the ambrosia maple and glue 2 boards side by side. Once the glue dried, I rough cut the board to its rough lengths. Then I whipped up a quick planer sled to make sure the panels are perfectly flat. This is pretty simple, just rip a piece of plywood to the width of your planer bed and cut it to an easy to manage length. Then cut off a thinner strip and glue and screw it to one end. I added sandpaper to help with the grip, but I don't think this was really necessary. Then you place the board on the sled and add shims where there's gaps. This will plane the board perfectly flat using the plywood base as reference. Just make sure the board being planed is above the screws. You don't want to have your planer blades hit those screws. Once the top is planed, take it off the sled and run it through the planer with the flat side on the bottom, and voila! Perfectly flat wood. Next, I used my crosscut sled to cut everything to its final length. Just watch those fingies. I'm adding a rabbet around the edge of all of the panels. To get the depth I wanted, I scribed a line on a sacrificial fence and then raised the data stack until it hit the line. Then I ran each board through so that there's a rabbet all the way around on both sides. Next, I cut the pieces for the frame that the panels will sit in out of maple. After everything was finished, I started working on the joinery. There's going to be through tenons going through tenons, so say that 3 times fast and reward yourself with a cookie. I cut the shoulders with the miter gauge, took a quick coffee break, cut some more shoulders, and then raised the blade up and finished the rest of the tenon. Watch those fingies. frame pieces have thinner tenons, so the same process, just different measurements. I set up a vise with stop blocks on the drill press to get repeatable holes for the mortises. A little tappy tap and it's good to go. I went about halfway down, then flipped the piece and drilled out the rest to avoid blowout. Once all the larger mortises were bored out, I changed to a smaller Forstner bit and drilled the small mortises. Next, I squared up the mortises with chisels. I did a final cleaning up with some files. So I realized that cleaning up these tenons is going to be way easier to do with the data stack, and I probably should have just done it with the data to begin with. So that's what we're going to do. My table saw blade has alternating teeth, so it's not the best for tenons. The data stack worked much better. Then I chamfered the ends of each tenon with a hand plane and added a chamfer on the inside to make the glue up easier. Time for the hidden charging. First I set where I wanted the phone to go and marked it out. Then I set up stop blocks for the router. I set the depth on the router and using a flat router bit, routed out the spot for the phone. Quick sand to clean up the router marks, and it's time to add the charger. I measured out where it needed to go to make sure it would fit under the phone spot. Then I added a piece of tape to a Forstner bit at the approximate depth needed and drilled a hole. Alright, so what we're going to do here is pretty much extend the micro adjust on the router as far as it'll go. Too far. Get that back in. Now we're going to set the depth to match the hole I just drilled. Tighten that back up. Now I'm going to route out the circle, and if the charger doesn't work through the wood, just tighten the micro adjust a little bit and make another pass until it works. I chiseled out a channel for the cord to run through, but pay attention to what direction you're chiseling. You'll see why towards the end of the video. I'm securing the charger with hot glue. It dries quick and it's easy to remove in case the charger needs to be replaced. Alright, well we failed, so we're just gonna tighten this up and try again. Ha! And isn't that just the cutest baby you've ever seen? I drilled out holes for the vertical through tenons to go through the horizontal through tenons. You're probably through with me saying through, aren't you? Well, let me tell you about the time I threw a through tenon through a drive-through window. You probably threw up over how bad that joke was, didn't you? Puns are the highest form of comedy. I dry assembled the frame and marked where the data needed to go for the panels.
Look at these devil horns. Oh my goodness.
Using more tape on Forstner bit wizardry, I drilled a start and stop hole for the dados on each piece. I set up a fence underneath the router to keep the data straight. But before it was time to route, I was viciously attacked by nature. God damn it. Time for round 2. Alright, I think we're safe, just in case. Anyways, set up a stop block here, just countersunk it in, same thickness as the pieces. So what we're gonna do is line up our piece on here. We got this set to be centered. It fits. How embarrassing. There we go. And we're just gonna plunge, move across. When we get to the end, slide on through. And we're gonna do this in 2 passes, just to be safe. All right, let's do it. I didn't say that very clearly, but once I got to the stop hole for the dado, I stopped. Which makes sense if you're going to label something a stop hole. Next, it's time for the hidden compartment. I used an oscillating tool to get the curve started. Look, my oscillating tool is rubber. Once I was done oscillating, I used a jigsaw to finish the cut. After cleaning up some of the ugliness from the jigsaw with a hand plane, it was time to make the frame for the compartment. I resawed another piece of ambrosia maple and then whipped out the finger joint jig because fingers are prettier than miters. To use the finger joint jig, you set your dado stack to the exact thickness of the stop block in the jig. Then put your workpiece against the stop block and run it through the saw. Then place the hole you cut into your piece over the stop block and run it through again. Then repeat until the process is complete. To get the side pieces to match your fingers, you need both pieces. Put the first piece's first hole over the stop block and put the new piece right next to it. Run it through the saw and then you can continue on normally. I would say watch your fingies while you're making fingies, but a video really shouldn't have the same joke 3 times in it. After the glue up, I made a rabbet all the way around the bottom of the compartment for the size to sit in. Then it was time to start laying out where the electronics were going to go. I measured where the lock mechanism went and cut out a slot with the jigsaw. Same thing with the fingerprint sensor, but Forstner bits instead of jigsaws. I'm filling the compartment with Kaizen foam, which is some pretty cool stuff. After cutting it to size, I marked where the lock mechanism is, and then cut it out so the foam would sit flush. Now the compartment can hold all sorts of fun stuff. You just have to trace out the object, cut it with an X-Acto knife, and pull out the foam. I chiseled some quick mortises for the hinges, and then it was time to glue. I trimmed the corners of the rabbets on the panel so that they would fit into the frame pieces. Then I glued up the top and bottom panels into their frames. Once the glue was dry, I mortised out the hinge spot on the bottom panel and then went to work trying to get the compartment to open. I set the blade on the table saw to 2.5 degrees. My saw tilts left, so I had to move the fence to the left of the blade and run it through that way. It still didn't open, and the compartment walls were so thin that there was not a lot of room for adjustment. So I sanded and carved away at the frame until it opened smoothly while still maintaining a nice reveal around the compartment. Once I got it working, I cleaned up the panels with a plane. That was the point where I realized the cord channel was going the wrong way, so I had to redo it. Fortunately, it's inside the box, so no one will ever see it. Time to glue it all together. Once the glue dried, it was time for final sanding and cleaning up of the through tenons. And then finish. I used a coat of boiled linseed oil and 2 coats of wipe-on satin poly to make it extra pretty and extra protected. While the finish was drying, I made the frame with which to mount it to the wall in a floating fashion. I cut down a 2x6 to the exact size of the inside of the box with 2 arms sticking out for support. I countersunk the screws so it would sit flush on the wall. And with that, it's finally time to add all of the hardware and finish this monster of a project. for watching. This one was a doozy, but it's probably my favorite project of all time. I've got plans for sale on my website, and these aren't some dinky little plans with a crappy drawing. These things are pretty legit. We've got step-by-step instructions with pictures, links to where I got all the electronics, and measurements for each piece. My ad revenue doesn't even come close to covering the cost to make these videos, so if you want to support this channel, buying a set of plans is a great way to do so. Anyways, thanks again for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. Share this video with your friends, check out one of these videos up here, and I'll see you on the next one.